Good evening, students. Today I am going to read and explain Unit 6, Charlie's Daily Dose of Sunshine. I am going to explain in short. Later I will read and explain each paragraph. So listen carefully. Dear students, you are going to learn an interesting story about an orphaned raven called Charlie and joy it brings to all around it. This lesson is all about a baby raven which was given to the narrator by a man who had found it in the park. The narrator carried it home and took care of it while Zeke, the narrator's dog, gave it warmth and comfort. Though Charlie had been orphaned means whose father and mother is dead. He did not allow himself to think so. Instead, he was happy with the company he had and in fact loved to live the life that was meant for him. Slowly and steadily, he learned to fly and took off with the other ravens. He always came back home at sunset. This was a gesture of utmost gratitude and love showed by the raven and never forgot his foster parent and others around for helping him to stay alive. This is the lesson all about. Now I will read and explain.
Charlie's Daily Dose of Sunshine by Anne Lawton. "Can you please take him, ma'am?" asked the man in the park. "You always take in orphaned animals." I looked at the baby raven. It was tiny and shivering. In some way, my home had become a shelter for unwanted animals, tame or wild. As I looked at the raven, I realized that I was perhaps his only chance of survival. So I brought the raven home and called him Charlie. He grew to be a very lovable pet. The children of the neighborhood loved him. They were delighted by the way he swallowed worms. They often dug worms to feed him. Charlie loved eating worms. I had a dog, Zeke. He loved animals and had helped me look after quite a few abandoned kittens and ducklings.
The man told author to take the orphaned raven because she always takes animals which are all alone and are orphaned. Orphan here means whose parents are dead. And secondly, it was tiny and was shivering. Shivering, in other words, trembling. The author's house had become a shelter for unwanted animals, whether they were tame or wild. As she looked at the raven, she felt there was some chance for it to survive, to live. Survive, in other words, to live. So she takes the raven home and calls him Charlie. The raven grows up and becomes a lovable pet. The children of the neighborhood loved Charlie. They dug up worms and fed him. The children would even watch him every evening and would shout Charlie's home when he returned. The author's biggest help was Zeke, that was the dog. Zeke also loved animals and helped the author to take care of kittens, ducklings, and he also took care of Charlie.
To Charlie. After I had given Charlie a bath, Zeke would allow the bird to snuggle. Generally, ravens do not like to be given baths, but our Charlie would sit still with his eyes closed. Afterwards, he would sleep between the dog's paws. Zeke and Charlie were very good friends. Charlie kept us all very happy. Soon after he learned to talk, he started to imitate me. He would call out to Zeke in my voice, and poor Zeke would come running. He would think I had put food in his bowl, but he would find it empty. Charlie would fly to the topmost branch of a tree and would give his loud belly laugh. Zeke, of course, would be upset. He would refuse to play with Charlie for the rest of the day. Zeke had a pebble collection.
Now this paragraph tells us that one thing that was unusual about Raven was that he allowed the author to give him a bath. Raven do not like to be given bath, but Charlie did not seem to mind it. He sat still with his eyes closed. Later, Charlie would slip between Zeke's paws. Charlie was a very lovable pet. Soon after he learned to talk, he started to imitate. Imitate here means to copy the author. He would call out to Zeke in author's voice to trick Zeke into believing that food was served. Zeke would come running, but he would find it empty. Charlie would then fly up to the topmost branch and give out a loud belly laugh, loudly to cry. This is similar to children playing tricks on each other, but both of them had a loving and playful relationship.
Zeke had a pebble collection which he did not allow anyone to touch. However, this never stopped Charlie from getting near them. He used the pebble collection to play catch with Zeke. He would slowly step across the lawn towards Zeke's precious collection, turning often to look at Zeke, who would watch his every step. Charlie would pretend to pick up a pebble. Zeke would come running. It seemed as if he would tear Charlie apart. But as Zeke was about to touch him, Charlie would fly, sit in a tree, and laugh loudly. They played this game a number of times. Charlie never left us. He would often fly away with the other ravens in the mornings. But at sunset, he never failed to come home. Every evening, I could hear the children's chorus, "Charlie's home! Charlie's home!" Charlie brought a daily dose of sunshine into our lives. He taught me to start looking at the rainbow instead of the rain.
This is the explanation of the last paragraph, children. Zeke had pebble collection, which he did not allow anyone to touch, but Charlie would take pebbles. Pebbles means small round smooth stones from Zeke's precious collection. When Zeke would run at him, Charlie would fly away and would sit on the branch of the tree laughing loudly. This is the game they both played and enjoyed. The author says that Charlie never left them. He would fly with other raven, but he would faithfully return home every evening at sunset. This made children very happy, and they shouted in chorus, "Charlie's home, Charlie's home." Charlie brought a daily dose of sunshine into their lives. He taught them to start looking at the rainbow instead of rain. This is all about the lesson, children. Thank you.